Hello, my name is Zachariah Van Siders with Old Man Gaming, and this is another horrible game review. Disclaimers before we get into it, as usual. I'm a house dad. I work part-time, and I do this mostly for fun, so I'm not going to go back and edit things. I might take a long pause. I might say something wrong. It is what it is. Number two, I think video games are the most subjective form of art, so I'm going to give you the overview of the game, pros, cons, and whether or not I'm going to stick with it, and I'm not going to give you a scored review. And number three, I only usually get a little bit of time with these games, because of the previous mentioned factors. So this is kind of an everyman's snapshot view of this, although I gotta be honest, in this game I've played it all the way through. And what game is that, you ask? The game today is the indie game that took the world by storm, Untitled Goose Game by House. Okay, so what's the overview? It's pretty simple. You play a goose. This goose, as with all goose, without all geese, is a dickhead. And basically you go around this quaint English town, making everybody's day terrible, in search of an object, which I don't want to spoil stuff for you. But it's a very simple premise, and the premise is kind of this weird, kind of almost stealth, task-based puzzle game. Would be the best way I can think of to describe it. Like, you're presented with an area, like, say, the first area is the garden. You're presented with this area, and then you're presented with a to-do list. It doesn't really tell you how to do the to-do list, and the to-do list is all weird, irritating stuff that the goose is going to do, like steal the gardener's keys is one. Make him wear a sun hat instead of his normal hat. Get him wet. Stuff like that. And then you have to figure out, with the objects in the garden and your ability to sneak around the gardener, how to best do that. And the only weapons afforded to the goose are his ability to sprint. He can open his wings and kind of flap them a little. He can also honk, and he can grab smaller objects with his beak. He can grab some larger objects and drag them with the beak. And then that's it. You have to figure things out from there. That is literally the entire game. Like, it's very hard to go. Like, I know this is kind of a short section because of it, but that's it. That's the game. You go to an area as the goose. You're a jerk. You try and check off to-do lists until you basically check off enough to-do lists until you get a special to-do that gets added, and then if you do that, it opens up the next area. As I've said before, I actually beat this game. When you do beat it, you've opened up all the areas, and then basically you get this huge drop of to-do list stuff from each different area, and also the to-dos kind of have to deal with going between the areas, which makes it very interesting. And then you have to try and check those off for achievements and 100%ing. So pros. This game is incredibly creative and different. And, I think it's worth every meme or every piece of attention it got on the internet. Is it big? No. We're going to get into that in the con section. Is there a lot to it? No. Again, I'm going to get into it in the con section, but it's very creative and it's very different, and it's very funny. And I think comedy is a very hard thing to do in a video game, and this one has a lot of humor in it. I know that there's a lot of people who are complaining about some of the tasks being too not described enough so that you know what you're doing. I actually kind of enjoyed that. I kind of enjoyed the idea of, okay, I got to get this dude to put a sun hat on. How do I do that? I thought that was kind of half the fun of the game, was kind of figuring that out. So that's not going to be in my con. I really liked the to-do list, and I really liked how they put it together, kind of so that you really have to figure out, okay, how do I do this part? How do I do this part? How do I make this guy do this? And there's a lot of observation and patient detail to this game that I think is really commendable. On a personal level, I know some of the more badass singles out there who just want the killy shooty games won't really find this interesting, but as I said at the top of the show in my disclaimers, I'm a house dad. So the games that I can play around my kid, especially as she's getting older and starting to watch the TV that I'm playing more, are becoming smaller. There's just certain games and like I don't want to play that around her because it's a little too violent or whatever. And that's, like I said, it's probably my own personal hangups. But this game not only is completely safe to play around her, she finds it hysterical. And I gotta say that as a pro, there's nothing better than just having my 3-year-old just sit there and giggle. It brought a new level of fun to this game too. I found myself not doing the to-do list at all, but just like trying to mess with people in a way that made my kid laugh. There's a backyard scene in which this guy is just reading a paper and drinking tea. Well, I found that if I crawled up behind a hedge, when he went to drink the tea, I could honk at him and he'd drop the cup. And my 3-year-old just, I've never heard her laugh like that at a video game. Just would lose her mind every time I did it. So I literally spent 20 hours just like making this dude drop his tea because my kid found it so entertaining. And I just gotta say that's a pro. That's a really cool pro. On that same level, will go down in history as the first game. My kid actually started to understand that the buttons on the controller actually do something on the screen in a video game because she actually honked in the game and realized that the button was for honking and suddenly was very into it. So that kind of holds a special warm fuzzy in my heart for that one. I know I'm a big softie and everybody's going to call me a wiener, but it is what it is. Alright, so let's switch over to the cons for a sec. The cons are, okay, it's short. It's really short. If there's a couple of tasks you're probably going to get hung up on, but for the most part, you're going to breeze through this game. And if you know what you're doing, you can probably get through the whole thing in like 30 minutes, which I think is a little too short, especially for a game that has such genius to it. There's basically only 3 real areas. There is a 4th area, but there's not a lot to do with it. There's 3 real areas with people in it that you can, with puzzles. And man, the minute that ends, I'm like, man, I want like 6 more areas, like easily. And that's the thing. It almost feels like once it's ramping into like being a really awesome game, it ends, and you're like, what happened there? Like, that's it? Like, and of course it's not it. You do get a bunch of extra to-dos after you finish the game, which is cool. Not gonna argue that, and they are all just as fun as the original. And the level that they bring into the end game, which is, okay, now you can go to any place, so now you can mess with people from one to the other, like you can drag things from this area to the other area, and that kind of creative stuff, I think is really cool. However, it's only gonna keep the completionist coming back, and I really wanted more of this game. I really wanted more levels. I really wanted more areas. So I understand it's an indie studio and it is what it is, but it's a great game, and I feel like it's having the best piece of pie, but you can only have that piece of pie and you can't have any more pie. Like, you can't buy a whole pie. It's a little irritating. Okay, so surprisingly enough, that's it. Like I said, the game's very small, it's very simple, and it's very witty and into it. So, am I going to stick with it? Well, I can tell you right now, I'm halfway through the extra to-dos that you get after you win it. And, my kid actually requests it by name now. So, anytime she requests it, I'm going to turn it on and play it. So, yeah, I'm going to stick with it. I 100% wish there was more content for it. I feel like the content in it is just too small. But you can get this thing on Games Pass. So if you got a Games Pass subscription, it is a great afternoon time killer. And it's you will giggle in it. I giggled quite a few times in it, and it's just an interesting way of doing one of these types of stealth games. So I look forward to more House stuff, especially if it's more Goose Game stuff, because I want more Goose Game stuff. Alright, so I know this was a smaller review, but there's just nothing more to be said about it. It's a good, solid game that's a little bit too small. So hopefully this helps you guys decide whether you're going to play it or not. And as long as you guys keep watching these, I'll keep making them. And this is technically the last show of 2019, I'm pretty sure, if I've timed that right in my head. So Happy New Year to everybody out there. I hope your 2019 was great. And man, am I looking forward to 2020, with the exception of the fact that I don't know how I'm going to buy all the games I need to buy coming out in it. But yeah, Happy New Year. I hope everybody is warm and safe out there. And as long as you guys keep watching these and listening to these, I'll keep making them. And that's been the best gift this year of my life, is having this channel be even semi-successful. So thank you to everyone out there. As usual, check out our reviews every Monday. My dumb playthrough of Outer Worlds on Tuesdays. My playthrough with Philbilly 330 of Borderlands 3 on Wednesdays. And then, of course, back here on Friday for the podcast with my good buddy Logan. So, and then we're probably going to be coming out with a couple of new shows in the new year. See if we can't make that work. So yeah, so just keep an eye to the channel, and I hope everybody sticks around for 2020.